Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, we have a royal opening to this SoccerX Global Convention 2015 and to our first session. A true HRH, His Royal Highness, is among us, and we welcome him. He comes from the Middle East, of course, a turbulent place, and he's had a turbulent football year by any standards in this annus horribilis for football's world governing body, FIFA. Some of us were honoured to have a little advance notice and knowledge of his challenge to Sepp Blatter last May for the FIFA presidency. Little did we know how much drama would surround it. It's not widely acknowledged, I don't think, certainly not in this country, that with 73 votes, he denied Mr. Blatter a first ballot victory and then stood down from the second ballot in the interests of football. Only, of course, for Mr. Blatter to announce his resignation 4 days later. So the battle to lead the game out of its current crisis, certainly of perception and surely more, is on again. Candidates we know about, of course, include the president of UEFA, Michel Platini, and Dr. Chung from South Korea, and some others. But what of the man who had the courage to put his head above the parapet in that first ballot earlier this year, when so many others stood back? What now for His Royal Highness Prince Ali bin Al Hussein of Jordan? Well, let's ask him. Prince Ali. Let's cut to the quick. Are you a candidate for the presidency of FIFA again?
Well, to be honest, right now, I'm talking to national associations, listening to their opinion, what they see for the future, and also giving my own ideas. I think that right now, we need a candidate who is forward-thinking, who brings a new idea, who is not tainted by the past as well. And so what I'll say to you right now is just stay tuned.
So that sounds like yes.
Stay tuned, we'll see.
And do I need to stay tuned this week, or do I need to stay tuned for a month?
Well, not for very long, let me put it that way.
I said to you there that, I said there in the introduction to you that, do you think you got the credit for putting your head above the parapet that you deserved?
Well, I tried my best. I served for 4 years on the executive committee. During those 4 years, I tried my best to bring new ideas and a new way of being, and one that reflects the world as a whole and their desire for how they see the organization of FIFA, being the governing body of the most popular sport in the world. So it was very challenging, let me put it that way. And having been the youngest person on the executive committee at that time, it was difficult.
The youngest?
Yes, yes, of course. But I also made the decision, having seen what happened, that I could not remain on the executive committee under the circumstances we were in. And that's why I decided that, look, somebody's got to take the challenge, because at the end of the day, what's needed is change of leadership to bring about a new FIFA, and a FIFA that is respected worldwide.
Despite everything, why didn't you win?
There's, you know, a lot of factors to that, bearing in mind that President Blatter has been there for many, many years. The election process itself is very difficult. I would say that other challengers, such as Luis Figo, put it in the best way, and others. I think that also the way that the election process took place was very difficult in terms of a lot of pressure being put on confederations, for example, not to have a public debate, not to have a proper debate. There was a little bit of intimidation. We as candidates were not able to present our platforms.
Where was this intimidation?
I think it is general.
And what form does it take?
Well, I think it's a way of saying that, for example, if you have a Congress and a confederation, that candidates cannot take the stage, much less have a debate. And I think that is completely opposite to what we want in democracy and football. You cannot have the most popular sport in the world be muted in this way. And I hope, and I want to make sure that the next election process is done properly, correctly, and therefore that the whole world has the ability to really look and see who they think is best for that position.
What has Mr. Blatter done wrong?
Well, look, I think seriously, anybody in any position of that nature should take responsibility for what happens in the organization. There is no saying that, that it's everybody else's fault. You are responsible for what happens, whether you like it or not. And I think that, honestly, he should have stepped down a while ago. And if he really had the best interest of football, he would have done that.
Why didn't you go to that second ballot when you could have done?
Sure. But again, I didn't want to, let me put it that way, I didn't want to put those people who had the guts to support me, I didn't want to put them in a difficult position at that stage. This is a process that is ongoing, and in my view, that's the first round of many. The idea is that we have to change the entire way that FIFA is run, the way that it's conducted. Unfortunately, we've lost a year in that process. We really have lost a year in terms of reforming FIFA, and that's the disappointing aspect. But hopefully, come February, we can start a new beginning.
If you'd known then what you know now, e.g. Mr. Blatter was going to stand down after 4 days, would you have gone to second ballot?
That's an interesting question, but it's a hypothetical one,
Well, try it.
Well, I think at the end of the day, it should have been a different process. There were many factors that played into the decision, but we have to look to the future now, and we have very little time. The whole world is watching. Everybody cares. As much as people love the sport of football, the reputation of FIFA is the complete opposite, and that's a real shame, a real shame.
But just going back to that extraordinary week in Zurich for one moment again, what impact did the arrests have on the campaign and the outcome of the campaign and the vote, do you think?
Well, I think it's emblematic of the problem when it has gotten to that stage where it's become a legal action in countries. That's very sad for football.
Did it change the outcome?
I'm not sure. I can't speculate. Maybe it changed some people's mind in one direction and others in another, where maybe some people felt that they were under a lot of pressure. But I think that's irrelevant now. I think what is relevant is to look to the future and bring back the reputation of FIFA, which is a challenge in itself. But again, we have to do it. There's no time to waste in that.
You talked about intimidation. What other lessons did you as an individual learn from that campaign?
Well, what I learned is actually a very positive thing. To go and to see these national associations around the world, to understand their challenges. I come from a developing country in football, and I understand the needs of development. But there are so many challenges, and there's so much potential to get these national associations up and running, give them their self-dignity as well. I think if they have the proper support, the proper infrastructure, that in itself will allow them to focus more on making the right decisions in terms of who they select, even in terms of leadership, if they feel comfortable in themselves. So we based more on debate rather than on sort of necessity, to get support. And that's, again, one of the sad things that is in the process. They feel that, so that was one of the lessons that I found very crucial. And FIFA's for the world. That's one thing that we all have to understand. No matter what the size of the country or the population, it's for all of us. And therefore, we have to give the basic ability for everyone to play football and everyone to compete, regardless of who makes the World Cup, but even if a small country, for example, has a star who makes it in a major league, that's a wonderful thing. That's an ambassador for the country itself.
I want to put to you a quote that's from an interesting newspaper article quite recently. The problem at FIFA is about how a complex web of covert deals, alliances and pacts, many entered into by people who believe themselves, to be honest, has corrupted the basic values of one of the most important bodies in sport. Is there a problem here that what is corruption in one part of the world or one country isn't corruption, or isn't perceived as corruption in other parts of the world?
I think the world is globalized. I think that people understand what corruption is. Now, in terms of the organization itself, yes, there are questions as to what is considered acceptable and what is not, and it is not clearly defined. Again, that is one of the issues that we have to tackle within reform. And to be honest, people look up to their leadership within the organization, and if people get away with things at times, then they think that that's the norm. So you have to make things clear as to what is acceptable and what is not. And again, you need transparency, real transparency,
from
not
the
as
top,
a slogan.
you have to make
yes,
it clear.
Of course.
And that's what's not happened.
No.
So when you were on the FIFA Exco, did you deep down think, hey, some of my colleagues are playing fast and loose here?
Well, I came in at a certain time, which was interesting because there were also newer colleagues who came in roughly around the same time that I did, and we got along quite well because we thought in the same way. Having said that, I do believe that anything that happened within FIFA was known within the leadership of FIFA. There is no way that is not the case, even though sometimes it's said that people did things and they're individuals. They're not. I mean, there is an issue with that. And the important thing now...
So what you're saying is people knew?
Undoubtedly. I mean, you cannot not know if things are going in a different way. And again, that comes back to responsibility. And it's only when something comes up, as what happened with the investigations from the United States and from Switzerland, that FIFA said, oh, we had nothing to do with it. It's just about individuals. It's not.
But is Mr. Blatter not correct when he says, you in the world, give me the executive committee you want to give me, and I have to make do with that?
In FIFA, if a national association, if a player or if somebody breaks the rules, they're punished regardless of where they come from. Okay? So why is the executive committee different?
Let's talk about some of the known, you may not quite yet be a candidate, but other people we know are. And let's talk about them. Let's talk about one of your predecessors on the Exco, Dr. Chung. He is a candidate. How do you regard him today?
Well, Dr. Chung, as a national association, when he was our vice president, I really didn't have much interaction with him because that was the nature of how he was at that time. The only real time I knew him was when I ran for the position of vice president against him and won. But I have worked very well with his nephew, who's the president of the Korean FA. He's a young guy. He's got a lot of energy and a lot of good ideas. And I have a great relationship with him, and I think he's going to do a lot of good for Asian football in the future.
Would Dr. Chung, as president of FIFA, be the new broom that you want?
Well, I think just looking at candidates, I think the important thing is to have a new beginning and to have new ideas. I think that's the desire, and therefore any candidate who has been in the organization for a long time, and I don't think is what is needed at this moment in time.
So you don't think Dr. Chung is what is needed. You also don't think Mr. Platini, who was one of your supporters.
Look, I have tremendous respect for Mr. Platini, both as a UEFA president and as a former football player. I mean, but at the same time, there is a difference between UEFA and between FIFA. FIFA is in a crisis right now, and we need a new beginning. And whether anybody likes it or not, to be honest, Michel Platini's introduction into football governance was as a protege of Sepp Blatter. That's a reality. So therefore, we need a new...
Do you think deep down there's still that Mr. Blatter is quite happy with Mr. Platini as his successor?
I can't, I don't want to read anybody's mind, and I don't want to comment on that. What I want to focus on is the right candidate for the future, one who really believes in reform and in full transparency, but who means it, not as a slogan, because that's very fashionable right now.
Does Michel Platini really believe in reform?
I've sat down with him, honestly, and talked with him. And therefore, I've listened to him, I've listened to his ideas, and I think it's a responsibility, having done what I've done, to at least guarantee that, that the future is different from the past. And therefore, I was not very encouraged.
And were you not, because something happened in your relationship with Mr. Platini, didn't it? Because you were on his side and he encouraged you to stand, and then suddenly he declares he's a candidate this time, and you're quite rude about him, really.
No, sir, I'm not rude, I'm just honest.
You're honest?
Yes, sir.
And so you think that, but did something change in your relationship?
No, as I said, it's nothing personal. But this is about the world, this is not about individuals. And one has to be honest.
Yeah. Why do you think he then supported you the first time and doesn't support you this time?
You might want to ask him that question.
I'd love to. I would love to. Do you think, though, that a European is the right answer for FIFA at this stage?
Look, I think that, again, FIFA's for the world. The reality is UEFA, as an organization, has been running very, very well for many, many years, even before Mr. Platini came in. The system is there, and it is the top confederation in the world. But where we need development, where we need new ideas, then we have to get the real opinion of the rest of the world, because that's what the umbrella that FIFA provides for all. And therefore, it's not a matter of a European or a non-European, it's a matter of the right person at the right time. And I think that it's okay to have a non-European as a FIFA president. And I think that's the right of anyone in the world.
It's okay, but is it desirable to have a non-European at this stage?
It shouldn't be about where one comes from or where one doesn't. We're anti-discrimination. And I've seen it a little bit, even with my own candidacy in the past, where there were concerns about my own background. But that's wrong. Okay? So I don't want to get into that, but we do need the right candidate for the right time. Somebody who can bring back the reputation of the organization, who can bring back confidence, whether it comes from sponsors, our fans, and our players, and who can maximize the potential of FIFA.
I must ask you one further question about Mr. Platini, though. You know the story that in that week in Zurich, he went into Sepp Blatter and said, you, Mr. Blatter, should stand down. That's the story. And Mr. Blatter said no. There is now another story that I hear that actually Mr. Platini went in and said, Mr. Blatter, you must not stand down, because if you do, guess who will become the president?
Nothing surprises me.
You think that happened?
Nothing surprises me at all. I don't know. I cannot speculate.
That would explain a lot of things that have happened since, though.
Yeah, but nothing surprises me in the politics of the football world.
So who do you think at the moment, given you're not a candidate quite yet, who do you think is best placed at the moment to win?
Well, let's see who all the candidates are first. And I won't speculate on that.
You think it's too early yet?
It's too early, and we haven't heard the platform of candidates, honestly.
Why is your own continent, Asia, not supporting you?
Well, I think that, again, when it comes to a FIFA election, it's for the national associations to decide. That's one of the things that I've seen in the past period, which is very unfortunate. in the fact that some candidates are trying to use executive committee members or confederation presidents to do the lobbying for them. And that's totally opposite to how things should be. So I am very concerned about that. But coming to February, it's a while to get there, and we'll see. We'll see how things
Can
go.
you win, though, without the absolute right there support of your own continent, Asia?
If the elections are done correctly, cleanly, and properly, without interference, then I believe I can, for sure.
So let's then talk about the priorities of the first 100 days of a Prince Ali presidency of FIFA. Transparency, #1 priority, yes?
Right.
What does that really mean then to a football supporter? What does it mean?
Well, you take the locks off the doors and open the windows, let everybody
Yeah.
in. But honestly, transparency is about being completely open about everything. There is no need for secrecy. People want to know what we are, who we are, what we're spending our money on, what we're doing.
How much you're paid?
Exactly. And that is transparency and openness. It's okay also to ask for outside bodies who are truly independent to come in and help us out in reforming the organization. And if we do that correctly, we will get our sponsors much more excited. I think one of the problems is that sponsors right now are hesitant about FIFA, and that's a real shame.
Yeah, they're hesitant, but they don't pull out, though, do they? Because the World Cup is the World Cup.
Some have. And I think that there is a big concern among sponsors right now, and I've heard it from them as well. But they should be fighting to be a part of FIFA. They should be fighting to be a part of football. And we need to get to that dynamic again, because at the end of the day, what they provide for us goes back and should go back into developing the sport across the globe. And that's the circle that we want, a virtuous circle of support, and bring it back into our grassroots, into our youth, in both the men's and the women's game.
Now, you mentioned the women's game there. Now, I was absolutely beaten up outside here and told you will ask about the women's game. Do you think, because you've been a champion of the women's game, that Women's World Cup in Canada was a huge step forward, wasn't it? Not just because the English actually won something, albeit third, but it was a pivotal event for women's football, yes?
Yes, I think it was wonderful, and the World Cup in Germany as well.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of things that were raised that came out of the World Cup, such as the disparity between salaries or between finances that are given to women players as opposed to male players, even though marketing-wise they had excellent coverage. So there's a lot of ways.
What could you do about that?
I think you need to increase, obviously, the value and bring a lot more.
And how do you
do
that? How do you pay women players better?
Well, you base it upon what's coming in from sponsors and from marketing companies. If they are getting so much coverage and so much attention coming into the game, and also funding for that is coming into FIFA, that should go back to women's football for sure.
And FIFA can affect that.
Of course. But that also needs to come to all levels of the game, as well as youth football and as well as youth football and for women as well.
You talk about the sponsors. How damaged, then, is the FIFA brand? Is it repairable?
Well, it's extremely damaged, and it's a real shame, as I've said before. And it's not a matter simply of a change in the leadership. The whole world is suffering because of where we are. My own children know about what's going on within FIFA and corruption and so on. And
is it a prestigious job?
Shame.
Is it a prestigious job anymore, being a member of the FIFA Exco, or is it something you hide? There are some of your former colleagues who tell me they deny all knowledge of it sometimes when they're asked.
Well, I chose not to be a part of it at this stage because of what's going on. Maybe others don't have that same opinion. But I think that, you know, we have to take a stand unless things are changed. But going back to that, yes, it is repairable. I think that the whole world wants to see a better FIFA, but we have to provide it. And we have little time to do so.
Do you expect more arrests?
Look, these are issues that are legal, that have to do with two separate investigations. And like anyone, I'm watching and listening.
Meanwhile, the World Cup draw for the first stages in Russia has gone ahead. Sure. And then, of course, there's the World Cup in Qatar in 2022. Do you expect those two World Cups to go ahead in Russia and in Qatar?
Yes, I hope so. I think it'd be lovely to have a World Cup, obviously, in Russia and also in Qatar. At the end of the day, you know, we do need the celebration in our part of the world. I've always said that if a country has the means and capabilities to host it, no matter what their size is, then they have the right to do so as a member of FIFA.
In what circumstances, if any, should there be a revote on, say, the 2022 World Cup?
Well, look, the way that I view it right now is that it has been awarded to Qatar. I know that, for example, the Emir of Qatar, and we've heard him, I mean, he's very much dedicated to making it a success and to tackle the issues which are brought up, especially the labor issues and so on. But as FIFA, we have to help him, and we have to help the country to move in that direction and move as soon as possible. The real issue is to prevent in the future anything that has happened before. In other words, decisions to have a double bid. I think for Qatar, for example, if they had had another 4 years to prepare their bid, it would have been better for them. I mean, instead of having to have changed the World Cup from summer to winter after the decision was made, they could have prepared the bid for that period of time beforehand, as well as tackle the other issues. But also with FIFA, any awarding for a World Cup in the future has to have the basic norms of human rights, because it is a world event. And we have to make sure that that happens in the future, in the run-up to a bid for the World Cup.
So when the decision is taken on the World Cup of 2026, how different will that bidding process be, do you think? I mean, at the moment, thanks to Mr. Blatter's regime, there is going to be 209 votes as opposed to 24. Now, some of us might be a little skeptical about the dangers of corruption being greater with 209 votes than with 24, but that's another matter. What do you think will be the differences in the next bidding process?
Well, I think we have to reevaluate the bidding process itself. For example, the IOC did that when they had some complications. So we have to have a real review about how it's conducted and how it's done. At the end of the day, before a bidding process takes place, you know, there are teams that go out and evaluate the countries. But sometimes their report is not what is listened to or adhered to. And I think that process needs to be implemented
So you mean the technical report matters
Sure.
as opposed to what's happened in the past?
Sure. You know, I think that, you know, we have to get the politics out of it a little bit more and really follow what's best for football.
But you would leave the vote amongst the 209 members as opposed to bringing it back to the EXCO or at some other body?
That's a very interesting point that needs to be debated within the footballing world, and we need to bring in experts from all over the footballing world to decide it. I mean, it's not really something that can be decided simply by the executive committee or by the Congress. There has to be recommendations. We have to bring in outside bodies as well as representatives, whether it's from team managers, from referees, from players themselves, to give advice on how best to do the process.
We're in England at the moment. How do you regard the English FA that nominated you the last time for the contest against Mr. Blatter and has now said it'll support the president of UEFA?
Well, I think you know, I have tremendous respect for the English FA, and I hope and I urge, obviously, the the FA to do as they always have done in the past, and to stick with the right candidate who has the right reform program, regardless of where they come from. And I sincerely hope that they do that, and I trust that they will.
How are you regarded now back at home in Jordan? When you actually manage to get home, how do you, how are you regarded in your own country?
Well, I hope pretty well. I mean, but no, I think you know, people, not just in my country, but also in our region, are very proud of the stand that we took, and I think that especially our youth, because it's the right thing to do, and people really do appreciate that. There is a lot of encouragement right now to take up the challenge again, obviously. Although, you know, maybe some of our national team players and our FA and our farms in Jordan are maybe not too happy to say, leave that alone and come back and work with us. But no, generally, I'm very buoyed and very happy with all the support.
How do your family regard you doing all this?
Well, I think my wife and my children maybe are a bit, you know, it was a little bit difficult for them, especially with all the traveling and so on. But I've been fully supported by all my family, and that's a wonderful thing. And they understand what I'm doing. They also understand the needs of football, and I think that it's a great thing. So I'm very happy with that.
What would you say to those people who have a vote in all this, who say, well, the problem with all this is His Royal Highness Prince Ali is too decent, too nice for this piranha pool?
Well, you know, I've got a pretty strong backbone, and I think that they understand that. And I've always been like that, even when, you know, as president of our own FA. So there's nothing wrong with being polite and being decent, but if it takes it, I'll fight. And I'll fight for our national associations, and I'll fight for football around the world.
And if you aren't the president of FIFA, what happens next to His Royal Highness Prince Ali?
Well, obviously I'll still be involved in football. We have AFDP, our development project in Asia, and something that I would like obviously to take global, regardless of what happens in the future. I think also the social responsibility of aspect of football is incredibly important right now, and it should be in the future. So I'd be very much committed to that and being part of football all over the world.
Sir, it's been a great privilege talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.